Hey Terraformers, we're back. Now we have our journal in order. So what I want to do is just open up the journal here, and I want to go into week 1, and I want to fix this so that it's about modules. So we'll go over to issues first because we're getting ahead of ourselves. And what we want to do is set up the root directory correctly so it has the outputs, the variables, and things like that. So I'm just going to say here, reorganize or restructure root module. And so we want to add here a variables TF. We want to have an outputs TF, which I believe we have. We want to have a main TF. And I feel like I'd like to show you this. We'll probably get rid of this file, but I'm just going to have one called providers TF for now. Just to show you how Terraform loads files. Let's go back over to the documentation we saw earlier about structure. So you'll want to grab this, the standard module structure. You'll have to search for that. And I'm going to go over here and just paste this here for a second. But we will work through this and see what we can do. So I'm going to go here and create a new branch. And we'll say create. And I'll close that. I'm going to go over to the left here. And I want to switch over to that new branch. So drop down and we'll go down to 19. And what I'm going to do, make sure I'm on that branch. I'm going to click into journal and I'm going to go ahead into week 1. We're going to go ahead and hit edit. And so what I want to do here is talk about root module structure. And we'll go ahead and grab this and paste this in here. And I'm going to put parentheses. This is going to be standard module structure here. So what does it expect to have? The only required element for standard module structure, Terraform files must exist in the root directory. So we need to, our root module structure is as follows. So we have variables TF. We'll say project root here first, project root. Variables TF, main TF, providers TF, outputs TF. We might have a Terraform TF vars as well. And we should have a readme.md required for root modules. Stores our outputs, stores the structure of input variables. This will be nvars we want to, or variables, the data of variables we want to load into our Terraform app or Terraform project. Providers defines required providers and their configuration. Everything else. So I don't know if we actually have to have a main TF. I think it's just that maybe we do. We could fiddle with that. But the idea is that the way Terraform works is if you have TF files, it'll just read them all and it will just vacuum them all up into a single structure. So you can make any names you want here and they will work. With the exception of TF vars, that is a specific name, but that's the structure we expect. We're going to go over here and take a look at that. So that's pretty clear for that. Sometimes it's nice to make like directories trees. So we can say like ASCII. Let's bring this over and see if we can make this look a little bit nicer. I'll use ChatGPT for this. ChatGPT. Turn this bullet list into an ASCII directory of files. Okay. And actually I might change this a little bit. Let's go here. It's going to say project root We'll say root module. And then we'll see if it can take it here. No, we'll just stick with what we got here because it'll look like a folder inside of a folder, and that won't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, I still have this open from before. You don't obviously want that running right now. I'm just going to close mine out. And we'll go back over here, and we'll go and paste this in. Edit. And so now what I'll do, I think we lost the first line here. Yeah, just root project here. We want to have triple backticks. So we'll just treat this like code, and then that way it will keep its formatting. So hopefully that makes it very clear in terms of what the directory structure is. We'll probably want to bring the main up a level here just because it's probably the first thing we look at. We'll keep the variables together here as well. And let's go back over to the docs and see what else there is. So there's a README license, the license which under the module is available if you're publishing a module. Many organizations do not adopt a module unless a clear license is present. So if you want people to use it, make sure there's a license. Variables and outputs, we'll talk about nested here. They suggest there is a modules directory. So we'll get to that here in a moment. And actually, we could have probably just ran tree. I forgot about that. Well, if we launch up Gitpod, we could have wrote tree and then just copied this. So maybe we'll do that for next time. We're going down here below. Yeah, that looks kind of interesting, but we'll do that in a separate video. We'll set up the modules. I just want to get this stuff in place first. So this looks good to me. Our root module structure is as follows. So we'll go ahead and commit that. Again, add extra notes if you are not clear. These are your notes for your benefit, right? So now what we'll do is we will go ahead and launch this in Gitpod. Okay. And we'll set up this directory structure. Great. Okay, so this is still launching a bit. I'm going to go ahead and start making files. So we want our variables. Whoops. Our variables TF. We're going to want our we have our variables TF. We want to have our outputs, which we do not have one yet. So we'll say outputs TF. We're going to want to have our providers TF. Okay. And then we'll make a Terraform TF vars. Rename this TF vars. TF vars. All right, so we'll split our screen here and we'll go into our main TF, and there's just a few things we want to copy and paste out of places. So the first I'm going to take is the providers. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab this and I'll cut this out and we'll put the providers here. I'm also going to bring their configurations as well. There could be some opinion or differing opinions that say, hey, the Terraform block should always be in main or which have you. We're just going to do it the way that we want to do it. What's important is whatever your team wants to do collectively, and that's what you should do. Okay. Here, whoops, we have our bucket. So we're going to leave it here for the time being. We have an output, so we're going to go over to outputs here and cut this and paste this into here. Notice that we don't have syntax highlighting. Sometimes it takes Gitpod a little bit of time for that to kick in. We have our random string here in our bucket. So that is our new structure. A few things we want to do is learn how to set up variables. So the way our bucket works is that we are feeding in this random value in, and that is one way of doing it. I don't necessarily want to change the bucket. I want to see if we can apply tagging to our bucket, and then maybe we can pass a custom variable in there. So what I'm going to do is make my way over to the Terraform registry, and I want to see if we can apply a tag. Not all resources in AWS can be tagged, and that's why I have to double check. So we'll go over to AWS, we'll check the documentation, we'll type in S3, we'll scroll on down, we'll go to S3 bucket. We'll scroll, and there are tags, so that is great. We'll go back over here, And this is really just superficial. We don't really need a tag. It's just more so to teach you about variables. And so what I want to do is just put in user UUID. Okay. And there's the syntax highlighting. Now it's in here. And so the idea is that we want to apply a variable here. So the way variables work is if you type in var and then your variable name, you can access it. So I'm going to just say user UUID. And it probably would have auto-completed if we had that filled in into our variables.tf. And so what I want to do is open up our variables.tf, and we want to write a block to say that this project expects that value or that variable. So what I'm going to do is go over to ChatGPT, because I honestly do not like writing variables from hand. And so we'll say in Terraform, write a variable that for a user UUID and write validation for that format. Hopefully that makes sense. And let's see what it can do. Now, you can't trust ChatGPT or these things for everything, but for this, it might make our lives a little bit easier. And we are using the UUID format, so it will generate out the variable and the validation. There we go. The only thing that's a bit unusual is that it has a hyphen here and then it's separated. I thought validation could be inline, but we'll double check that, okay? So go ahead and paste this. And so we're defining a user UUID, and this is on the outside. I'm really surprised about that. So let's go take a look at the documentation. There's variables and outputs right here. We have our input variables, and we'll scroll on down. Okay, yeah, it's loose here. I thought you could have them inline internal. Yeah, like see here, custom validation rules. You can specify custom validation rules for a particular variable by adding the validation block with the corresponding variable block. So I guess the idea is that you can, let's say you want to have reusable validation. Maybe that's the reason why, but it's set right here. So what would be the point? So I'm not 100% sure, but what I'm going to do, because I just think it looks better, is I'd rather have it inline and just keep defining them. And in this case, it doesn't seem like we have to define that one block, like this one here. So I'm just going to take that out here. Again, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm just fiddling with things. And we're going to bring this over. And I'm going to cut this here and paste this above and indent. Okay, and so the idea is that now this project expects a user UUID, and we define it over here. So let's go ahead. We'll type in clear here, and we'll try to do a Terraform. Well, first we got to do Terraform init, right? It's going to tell us if we don't. We'll initialize our project here. Is valid UUID. So right away we have an error. So unsupported argument in variable UUID. Name is valid UUID. So that's if we want to have a reusable name. I think if we just take that out, we'll just double check here. Yeah, condition error messages, that should fix that issue. So we'll type in Terraform init again. Encountered an unexpected error while reading the organization, unauthorized. So we're supposed to have a token that runs here. And so I'm just going to go, oh, you know why? It's because mine expired in 24 hours and yours is set for 30 days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Terraform Cloud. I'm going to generate a new one. I'll show you where that is. But I'm not going to show you what the token looks like because I don't want to constantly have to reset it every day. So we'll go over here. I'm going to go, where are our tokens? They're somewhere in here. Maybe it's under my account, user settings. There we go. And so that expired the other day there. Well, I'll confirm that, that deletion of that. I'm going to create a new token. I don't want to show you this token, so I'm just going to do this off screen, okay? All right, so I got that token from the Terraform Cloud. And remember, I have to set that. So I did a GPENV, and then I did Terraform Cloud token. I'm just showing you what I did while you were gone. Or while I was gone, I should say. And then I did an export, so those are set, okay? Now that that is set, well, I updated it, so I might need to run that bash script again. So I'm going to go ahead and do bin and say generate TFRC credentials. There we go. And so hopefully that will fix that issue. So I'll just type in clear, and we'll try Terraform init again. So hopefully that initializes the project. It is great. We're in good shape. Again, you wouldn't have ran into that issue. It just would have been me. But when you do have an issue with your token, you'll know how to fix it, okay? So we have Terraform Cloud successfully initialized. That's great. We'll type in Terraform plan. And we'll see what happens here. So to view this, run in the browser, visit here. So it's starting to do a plan, and I think it should show it here. I guess we'll find out here in a moment. So I'll just wait for it to initialize, okay? And we got an error back. So no value required, no value for the required variable user UID. So the root module in the input variable UID is not set and has no default value. Now here's the thing. If we weren't using Terraform Cloud, it would actually prompt us to enter the value in. So maybe we can just switch this out really quickly. So what I'm going to do, I just want to show you that. If we go over to providers here, I'm just going to comment out the cloud provider, okay? If you have no cloud provider set, I just exposed my key, my token, so now I'll have to clear it out, but yeah, that was bound to happen. But if we clear out cloud and we don't have remote, then by default it's going to use local. So I'm just going to type in Terraform init. We'll have to do init because cloud is gone. And we'll see if we get an error here. Oh, we'd have to migrate back. Okay, so instead of migrating back, because I really don't want to do that, I'm just going to undo this here, and we'll type in clear. And we'll just re-init. All I'm trying to say is that when you work locally, it works a little bit different than working with Terraform Cloud. But that's okay. I want to try to keep using Terraform Cloud as much as we can, if possible. So to view this, run in the browser. So we'll just wait a moment here for this to initialize. Okay. And so this says on variables TF, variable user UID, the root module input variable user UID is not set and has no default. So use var or var file command line argument to provide the value. We could have also, we could put things in Terraform TFVars, but because this is in Terraform Cloud, it's not going to read our local file. But if we want to get around this, we could do var and then set a user ID. So I'm just going to put something in here to set. Oh, well, I think I have to actually say what the value is here. So we'll go here and type in user ID. I'm just guessing that's the format. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Oops, it's not user ID, it's user UUID. We'll hit enter. And we'll wait a moment here. And what I'm realizing is that maybe for this project, we should probably migrate back to local because it seems like it takes a bit of time, not a lot of time, but a bit of time for it to go to Terraform Cloud and to generate it. Usually when I do Terraform Plan, it's super fast. So maybe that's something that we will do here. And see, it's saying that it's not the valid UID, which is what we want because we gave it validation to say it needs to match this format here for that user UID or UUID format. So what I want to do here is I want us to get off a remote for the time being. We'll come back to Terraform Cloud. We're going to switch it back to local, and we are going to do that migration. So what I'll do is I'll just comment this out for the time being. And before we do that, we should tear down our infrastructure. Okay, because we don't want to have duplicates here. So I'm going to say Terraform destroy. Terraform. Oh, we have TF. We should use TF. TF destroy. Totally forgot about it. And we'll tear that down. We'll give it a moment. And it's not going to let us tear it down because we have this user UID thing here in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment this out. I'm going to go back to our main TF. I'm going to comment this out. Okay, and then we'll try to do Terraform destroy. See if that fixes our issue here. We'll wait a moment, okay? And we ran into an error. So no valid credential sources found. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. When we set up our project originally and we pushed it to Terraform Cloud, we migrated the existing state file, which is no longer here, by the way, because we'd have to regenerate it. But we made it here, and then we pushed it to Terraform. So our state file is on Terraform Cloud, right? But the thing is that we never gave Terraform permissions to actually work with AWS resources. All right, so for us to tear this down, I know this is a big mess, we're gonna have to go all the way over here into Terraform Cloud and fix that issue. So I'm just looking for Terraform Cloud up here. Type in Terraform IO again. Click on the Try Terraform button. And yeah, it errored out here for that good reason. My fault. Click into here. Look at the details. So yeah, it doesn't have access to AWS. So what we can do is set the variables here, and that will resolve our issue. And we do need to do this. I just didn't think we were going to be doing it this early. But the idea is that Terraform needs to know about our AWS variables. Working with Terraform 0 later, you can load the default values from the auto TF vars. I don't want to do that. I just want to set up a couple of variables. So in the variable workspace here, I'm going to say add variable. And we have two options. We have Terraform variables and we have environment variables. And I mean, we can do it either way. I'm just trying to decide which way I like to set them for AWS. I think I want to set them, we want to set them as environment variables. That's the way we want to do it. And so what we'll need to do is make our way over to the env example here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And we're going to go back over to, where'd that go? Here, there we go. Make sure this is environment variable, right? And we can mark this as sensitive. Now this one is not technically a sensitive value, but I would still like to mark it as sensitive regardless. And we'll go ahead and I guess I need to get the current ones on this machine. And you know, that means I'm gonna have to rotate them after this, which is frustrating for me. But we'll type in env grep AWS _ I'm gonna grab mine. So you're grabbing your own. Don't use mine, use your own. And that's the secret. So we'll go back here. I want the access key, so I'll grab that. Okay. And paste that in. We'll add that variable. We will add another variable, which will be the secret here. Oh, did I do that backwards? I did. Okay. What a mess I am today. We will add a variable. We'll make sure it's an environment variable. We'll mark it as sensitive. We want this to be the key and this to be the value. So we'll go back and we'll grab the key name. We'll paste it in here. We'll grab the actual value from under here, not the example. We'll paste this in. We'll hit add variable. We'll go to the next one. We'll select the key. We'll paste it in. We'll go down below. We'll grab this part here. We'll go back. We'll paste it in. We'll mark it as sensitive. Make sure it's an environment variable. Notice every time I click into this, it defaults to Terraform variable. If this is a Terraform variable, it's not going to work because it's not in the format that it expects it to be. We're going to add that. So does it say? Yeah, they're nvars, so that's good. And I'm also going to do the default region. So I'll add a variable, environment variable, hit the key. This isn't sensitive, so I'm just going to keep it open. Okay. And we'll add this variable. So now we are set up, and Terraform Cloud should be able to migrate us back to local. So I'm just going to type in clear here, and I'm going to type in Terraform. Terraform what? TF destroy. Oops, TF destroy. And so I think now it should be able to have permissions to do so. So we'll give it a moment to think, okay? All right, so the plan has loaded and we'll just double check. And the idea here is it's removing that bucket and the random string. So that is great. We'll type in yes. Okay, and that should tear it down. We can probably observe this as well over in the Terraform Cloud. Over here, if we go back to our overview, you can see that it is running a destroy and it's applying it right now. So we can kind of watch that as it goes. So you'll notice here, it made the plan. We confirmed that earlier. I think we can confirm it here as well if we really want to. I'm going to probably stick with the CLI for the most part. And it should destroy those two resources. It looks like it's finished, so we are in good shape. Okay. And so now what I want to do is I want to, well, I guess we're migrated back to local states. So what I want to do is comment this part out. And I mean, technically, we did two things here. We're actually migrating back to local state, but I'm not making a new issue because that's going to be too much work to change the branching. But anyway, now that we've done that, we'll uncomment that for the time being. And we'll go back over to our code here, because what I wanted to show you originally was I wanted to show you what happens if you don't have a value being passed here and you try to do Terraform apply on that. So we'll do Terraform init because we got rid of that provider there, or that connection. And so I'm hoping that it goes back to local state. Migrating state from Terraform Cloud to another backend is not implemented. And that's totally fine. So the way we're going to fix that is when we go back to local. So I'm going to go ahead and delete our lock file. So let's say delete permanently. And I'm going to go up to this folder here and just delete it just in case. And now it's like we are starting from scratch, and we'll type in Terraform init. Okay, and that's going to pull our providers. And then we will do Terraform plan. And so now we'll be back in normal shape here. And it says an input variable with the name user ID has not been declared. So I'm actually really surprised because sometimes Terraform will prompt you if values aren't there. Yeah, I thought it would prompt us. So give me 2 seconds, okay? Okay, I'm not crazy. There are cases where they will do a prompt. I'm not sure what to do to trigger it. I really don't remember that use case, but I just remember experiencing that. I was just trying to replicate it here. If it's not going to happen for us, it's not that big of a deal. What I really wanted to do was to bring us back to local state, or managing things locally, so that we could have a faster cycle here. But the thing is that because we're working locally, that means that we have to remember to destroy our infrastructure after each video here, which is a bit annoying, but that's just what we're going to do, okay? So here it's still expecting that var user UID. And so there are a few ways that we can supply it. What I want you to do is make your way over to your Exam Pro account, because we actually have a user UID there for you. So I'm going to hop over to that. All right, so I'm in my Exam Pro account. In the top right corner, you're going to notice, oh, it's not pushed. It's supposed to show the user ID here. 1 second, okay? All right, let's see if this is fixed. I just made a deployment here to see if my user UID, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that value. And we're going to come over to here. And so there are a few different ways that we can input variables. So if we go over here, I don't know if it tells us all of them, but you know, there are a few different ways. So if we don't have the value set, what we can do is do our var user UID, and I'll paste that in. We saw earlier that it did not work when we had used the wrong value, because the validation did not work correctly, but we'll double check here. So a variable name user ID was assigned to the command line, but the root module does not declare a variable of that name. To use this, add a variable block. Because we commented it out, so let's go back over to here. That's why it's complaining. And we'll go uncomment that. We'll go back and hit up, and then we'll see if our plan works. I'm not going to run the plan. I just want to see if it works. So yes, it does. So that is one way for us to define environment variables. That's great if you're trying to override existing ones. That's probably a good reason to use that. You can also specify a var file, so stuff that contains it. We can put it in the Terraform TF vars, which is the most common way that we're going to do it. So what I want to do is go over here, and I'm going to paste in our value. I'm just going to go here and type in user UUID. I think this is a TOML file. Oh, it says TF-vars. Maybe it's its own format. I don't know. But let's go back and hit up and now see what happens. Okay. So we go Terraform plan, hit enter. Let's see if it picks up that that variable there, and it does. Okay, so that is what we want it to do. So that is basically how variables work. Very straightforward, very, very easy. If we're using Terraform Cloud, we have to set all these values manually. We saw us setting them for the environment variables, but if they're Terraform variables, we go back over to our project here. Well, I guess it's destroyed, so we can't. Can we set them while they're here? Yeah, yes, we can. So if we went down below, we would have gone ahead and set it as a Terraform variable. We can do this right now because we probably will use it in the future. And so in this case, I'm going to grab that value, my user UID. You should use your own. And go back over to where that tab is. We just have way too many things open. So I'm just going to close some of these so I can see what I'm doing. And we'll paste that into here. And notice this is on Terraform variables, so it's going to follow whatever the name is that we would expect it to be for Terraform. So we'll add that variable there. But right now we're not really using this. I'm just showing you that we have to set it that way, okay? But yeah, so we set that up there. But yeah, our goal here was just to get this structure set up. And notice we had the providers file separated out from the main TF, and it worked totally fine. So there were no issues there. Just understand that this Terraform TF-vars is not going to get committed because we're ignoring it. So we do have our example file, but we should probably also make a Terraform TF-vars example file as well, because I just don't feel like copying and pasting these values constantly. So I'll do TF-vars example. Okay, and then what I'll do is hit copy, and I'll hit paste. And I'm going to leave that there because this isn't a sensitive value, so it's not a big deal to have that there. But we will need to copy this over into the regular one at some point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to our git pod YAML. And I actually do want to copy that file. So we have Terraform getting set up here. We need to do this here somewhere. So I'm going to just say copy, and then I want to copy this into the correct directory. So this is going to be, we made an environment variable, didn't we, called project root. So we get env down here, project root. We're getting, sure why that's an issue. We'll just do, I'll just grab it there and say project here. There, yeah, it is project root. Okay, great. So I'm going to just say project root here. And I'm going to do /. And I want to do Terraform TF-vars example. And I'm going to copy that to the project root and just say Terraform TF-vars. Okay, and that's going to help us when we launch up a new workspace. I'm going to go and just paste that in and see if that actually works. No such file or example here. We have to spell project correctly, otherwise it's not going to work, so that's fair enough. I'm going to go ahead and copy that line again. We'll paste it. I'm not sure if it worked because the file is already there, so I'm going to just go make sure there's contents in there. Yes, we'll go ahead and delete this. Yep. And we'll hit up and try this again. Type in clear. I think we corrected that, no? It's showing me the old one there. I can see that that one's the wrong one. Okay, clear. Clear, 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 clear. And yeah, so it is copying, so this is good. Hopefully that is going to work for me as well. We'll go back over here. And yeah, so that's really what I wanted to achieve, was to get the root module in good order to split things up. So the takeaway here is you can make as many TF files as you want. They're going to all get rolled up. If you want to pass in environment variables, you're going to use the TF-vars. If you need to override one or set one that's not there, you can use that var flag. In Terraform Cloud, you have to set these here. You can set both Terraform variables and environment variables. All right, so maybe we'll go ahead and document a little bit of that really quickly before we commit this. I know the documentation makes these videos drag out, but we take good notes, so we're going to be rewarded very well for our efforts indeed, I think, for knowledge later on. So we'll go over here into week 1, and we'll just talk about environment variables, Terraform, cloud, and vars variables. In Terraform, we can set 2 kinds of variables: environment variables and Terraform variables. Those that you would normally set in your TF vars file. Those you would set in your bash terminal, e.g. AWS credentials is an example of that one, okay? We can set Terraform cloud variables to be sensitive, so they are not shown visibly in the UI. And I think that they're actually stored in Vault, which is another HashiCorp project. But so that's the Terraform cloud variables. Let's just talk about Terraform, loading Terraform and vars. And we go up here and just say, you know, Terraform variables here, Terraform variables and variables. Say input variables, because output variables would be outputs, which we've documented somewhere before, I think. So we have Terraform cloud variables, loading Terraform variables. So we can use the var flag to set an input variable or override a variable in the TFRs. E.g., we'll say Terraform var user UID, my user ID as an example. There's also the var file, which we don't really talk about or show. You know, you should go research that a little bit yourself. We'll leave that as homework. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say var flag, and I'm going to put in var file flag. This is your homework. So just say to do research this flag. We have Terraform TFRs. This file will load in. This is the default file to load in Terraform variables in bulk. How about autos TFRs? I'm going to set this as homework as well. So to do, I'm going to say, instead of say research, we'll say document. Document this functionality for Terraform Cloud. Okay. Order of Terraform variables. Because order of Terraform variables, so this will be something for you to do. So document which Terraform variable settings take precedence. That's something else you should know. I'm going to go back to the Terraform input variables documentation. We'll link that as well, because it'll probably have all that information here. There's a lot of stuff in here. If you want to read it, it's up to you. But we can just focus on what's practical. I'm just listing these other things out here if you are going after certification, you want to get more information. But in terms of what we're doing, you know, we're getting all the practical information that you need to know at a beginner level, so you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So we'll just say Terraform input variables. Documentation here. I'm going to go take a look here. And, you know, if you find this takes a lot of work, you can commit this and then write the documentation afterwards. I'm just not in that habit of doing that yet. There. Another thing that we did here was move from remote to local state, but I'm not going to document that. We've done enough here. So I'm going to tag this as 19. So change structure of root module and add tagging to bucket. Before we proceed, we need to tear down our infrastructure because we're not managing that state file anywhere. No options to be. Oh, we never actually did an apply, so we never did that. I wonder if we should actually try to do an import. That might be something that would be interesting to do. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm purposely going to do a deploy here. It should work. And then in the next video, what we'll do is we won't have a state file, so we'll see how we can handle that, not having that file, or see how it acts, okay? I'm not sure how it's going to work with the random bucket name. We'll find out, okay? And it looks like that's now deployed, so we're in great shape. And yeah, just be aware that we're going to lose that TFRs file, or that state file. It's not going to get committed. And we're doing that intentionally to see how do we work around that issue. So I'm going to go ahead and sync those changes, and now we're into our routine of the usual stuff. So we're going to go to pull requests. We're going to create a new pull request. We are going to drop it down. We're going to go to 21. We are going to merge that into main. Watch the direction of where it's going. There isn't anything to compare. Did this not sync? It says 19. Oh, did we just do this in the wrong branch? You know why it's the wrong branch is because I left this open and I didn't open it up in the right one. So I'm in the wrong branch. I'm making a mess of things today. Okay, the way I can fix that, that's not a big deal. I can just go git checkout, or I can go git merge, or sorry, git fetch. I say git checkout. I'm gonna get that branch name. I can't believe I made that mistake. How embarrassing. I'll go here and I want this branch. This happens all the time in real life, so I guess it's okay, but you know, less work would be nice. I'm going to do a git merge of that other one. So I'm going to say git merge 19, create talk readme. And now I have a conflict. Oh boy. And I have to fix this one here. Not a big deal. Okay, we'll go down here. This is week 1, that's totally fine. And to finish that merge, when you're merging, you don't have to go here. You just type in git commit, no commit message. Exiting because of, oh, you know, I have to add it. So I'll do git status. And you'll notice that there is one that hasn't been added because that one had the conflict. I think we resolved it. I'm just double checking. Yes, we did. We'll do git add all, git commit. And I'm going to save that file up here. I'm going to close that file out for it to finish. And now I can do a git push. Okay. And we'll go back over to here. We'll go to our pull requests. And yes, we have some of the code in 19 and some of them in 21. If you were smarter than me, you're not going to have this problem. You might have just clicked on that branch and was paying close attention, but you know, that's my fault there. We'll go down to 21. And so now we can see what's changed because it's a merge and there's something weird going on there. I'm just going to double check the files here once we create the pull request here. And we'll go ahead and create that pull request. Files changed. Yep, okay, so no side effects. We didn't get any conflicts, so that's really, really good. We're going to go back over to our commits here. Our pull request. We'll click into it. We're going to squash and merge because there is a lot of stuff we changed and that's a mess, right? We don't want all that junk. And we'll go there. And so now we're in good shape. What I want to do is I want to tag this as 110. Okay. So we're going to go git checkout main, git pull. We get the button here. And so our last one is 100. We can kind of see the little mess that we made here. So again, yours might look a little bit different if you were smarter about it, but you can see that 21 branched off of 19. And I'm just going to drag this over so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to do git tag 1.10 git push tags. Okay, and so now that version is tagged. I'm going to give this a refresh. Here we go. We are in good shape. I'm going to did we deploy this? We deployed this, right? Yeah, we have a Terraform state file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this workplace, and we're going to deal with the fact that we have stuff that's in state. It's not in sync, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop workspace, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.